The second movement I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is a pelvic floor tilt. Okay, so we talked about our transverse abdominis and how it's the innermost core muscle and how it's been really stretched out during your pregnancy and needs to really be retrained so that it is doing its job as a corset holding you in. But our transverse abdominis, it does not just contract on its own. It is co-contracting with your pelvic floor muscles if they're working correctly. So what we need to work on also is making sure that there's a connection going on between your transverse abdominis and our pelvic floor, and that they're co-contracting together throughout our day when we're moving around, when we're picking things up, when we're stepping up or down, in other different ways as well. So I want to go ahead and give you an exercise that helps you to contract that pelvic floor and co-contract it with our transverse abdominis. So we're going to go ahead and come back to our back with our feet flat and our knees bent and our arms at our sides. Okay, in this position, you're going to go ahead and you're going to activate your transverse abdominis, pulling that back down to the floor and the belly button to the spine. Okay, so inhale, fill up the belly and expand your diaphragm. And on your exhale, contract your transverse abdominis, pulling your belly button to your spine. Okay, then in this position, now you're to do a pelvic tilt. I want you to think about bringing your hip bones to your rib cage. Okay, so it's just a really small movement, but we're going to be using our pelvic floor and those muscles in our TA contraction, and we're going to pull our hips up towards our rib cage. Okay, so keeping your head flat, we don't want to activate our rectus abdominis. We just want to be using our TA and then the pelvic floor to create this pelvic tilt. Okay, so we're drawing our hips to our ribs and then release. Drawing our hips to our ribs and then release. Okay, if you're feeling like your glutes are activating a lot in this position, and what you're doing is you're pressing your glutes together and your feet into the floor to create that pelvic tilt, then what you want to do is you want to put your feet or your legs into a butterfly position, putting your feet together and letting your legs lay open flat. What this is going to do is it's going to take away the ability for your glutes to be taking over the job of contracting and pulling your pelvic tilt up. Okay, so again, in this position, take a breath, and on your exhale, activate your TA, and then I want you to pull your hips to your ribs in this position. So again, it's a very small movement, but you want to concentrate on using those inner core muscles and pelvic floor to create this tilt. Okay, and so you want to practice doing multiple reps of this movement. And then once you've been able to identify it and co-contract that pelvic floor and your transverse abdominis to create this tilt, I want you to work on 10-second holds. So inhale, exhale, activate the TA, and then pull the hips to the ribs. And then we're going to hold it right here, back nice and flat. This is all nice and tight and activated, and our hips being visualized pulling to the rib cage. You should feel a really tight contraction in here, and your pelvic floor should be active as well. And you're going to hold here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and release. Very good. Okay, so once you've been able to identify that transverse abdominis muscle and what it feels like when it's contracting, and then you've also done the pelvic floor tilts and you feel what it should feel like when your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominis are co-contracting, you're going to want to make sure that throughout your day, as you're activating that inner core, that both your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominis are working together to provide that inner stability and support for your spine.